very well. I mean, all of us really put our heart, our sweat, our tears, like God knows how much money we all spent on every single outfit. I mean, you know, I think one of the things is
That's
like,
important.
I mean, it is, right? So I think that, you know, the show really does showcase real estate in a really like honest way. I mean, I think we all shed tears like when cameras were off and on. So, you guys know as agents, like that is what it is. But you know, in order to succeed, you have to take really big risks with everything and really put your heart and soul into it.
We talked a little earlier about, you know, a lot of things in a private interview, and I asked her, not even talking about the show, so give me a little rundown of what your day is all about. And it was action-packed and jam-packed, and I can understand the success or the reason for this success. We'll talk a little later about how adding a show, a very demanding show, adds to an already crazy schedule. Trisha Lee, so same for you. You know, how has your experience, you know, coming through the ranks of real estate, working at Serhant, and now working on a show, what does that all do for you? What does it mean for you, and what are your thoughts about it?
I think it's very developmental more than anything. It's like a personal development that's happening. There's a lot that we do, and we can all relate to the business being up and down, good and bad, the highs and the lows of the business. I think that the experience of being on the show is two-part. Like, one, you're putting yourself out there in the world, and you have to be okay with however you're perceived, right? But you don't have any control over how you're perceived. So there's a certain level of growth that happens there, or it has happened, I think, for all of us. Because you're prepared to be ridiculed for who you are. You can't like change who you are, right? So there's a part of us that just has to grow and become comfortable with ourselves that needs to happen. There's definitely a development part because now you're managing your actual true life business and also the part of being on the show, whether that's shooting the show or supporting the show, like things like this. So it definitely adds more work to already a very hectic schedule. I don't think there's anyone at this table who doesn't wake up at 5 a.m. and doesn't work and grind all day long. But it's the balancing act that I think has happened. So I think a year into it, the benefit is I'm sharper, I'm more on top of things because I have been forced, or I've put myself in a position to be forced to grow. And for me, it happened right when it needed to, because I was kind of getting bored with the redundancy of what I was doing.
Well said, and you know, I teach real estate also, and what I say to students all the time actually is, as you said, getting to know who you are. You need to know who you are, build upon who you are, understanding your why. When people say to me, what do you mean by that? Understanding your why. Why are you doing this? Why are you here? Why is this important? And when you figure all of that out and you turn it into success, you need to continue to do that. It doesn't just stop because you've reached a certain level of success. You've got to keep going and keep going. Jessica, so the same for you, you know, successful real estate agent, working at Serhant, now you have an opportunity to work, you know, on a television show that, as I said at the top of the talk, wildly successful. What are you getting out of it?
I'm getting a lot, along with the rest of the cast members. Like, the opportunities after the show aired has quadrupled business. The exposure gave me an opportunity that I don't think so early on in my career I would have. For example, I just got my first new development of 18 units, thankfully to the show.
That's not easy to do, by the way.
Thank you. So, you know, me being only 5 years in the business, to have this opportunity now, it's all thanks to the show, and to Ryan for believing in me, for giving me the chance. And I know that once the show aired, I was very adamant about like proving that I could do this. I'm here competing with the big dogs at the table. And I knew that I wanted to prove that I could do this. If I put my heart and effort and soul into this business, the tears, as Jade said, I could do it too. And you know, I'm very proud, clap myself on the back, that I got it done and I got it building.
And again, as I said before, I've worked in new development for years. It is not easy to do, to get those developments, to work with developers, to get them sold. It's a lot of work.
I'm up for the challenge. I'm from New York.
You're up for the challenge. Listen, you have to be. So, Chloe, let me ask you, you know, were there any particular challenges in switching between the fast-paced world of your everyday real estate career to working on a show which also is very fast-paced and also very demanding? I mean, you've got two very demanding things going on at the same time.
Yeah, there wasn't much of a switch because it really was following our day-to-day life, our day-to-day transactions. There was definitely an added level of pressure because, as we all know, if the deal falls apart, it's not just something you go home and you tell your significant other, you're putting it on display to 270 million people. So there wasn't really a switch. You know, it's not like we all of a sudden turned on a new life for TV. They really were following our actual lives as real estate professionals in the city. But the pressure was really on, and you know, it was exciting, and I think we all handled the challenge really well, although there were a lot of tears.
And there will continue to be, because as I said, it's
Get ready for season 2. We've just begun.
It's not an easy. Genesis, what about you? So, you know, challenges of the day-to-day of the real estate career and worrying about, you know, addressing your clients' needs every day, but also thinking about, all right, I've got to be on camera, I've got to be on set, I've got to get this done. How do you manage all that?
Well, I already work in television. I'm a part-time entertainment journalist for the Spanish network. So I believe that prepared me for the challenge of owning Manhattan. I came from another country. I was at another country filming Top Chef, the Spanish version. So I was already tired. Thank God I had, very tired.
Top Chef is a very exhausting show, by the way.
Oh,
at least in the
very.
United States.
I came from filming 15 hours a day to doing the same here in New York. Thank God I had Niall by my side. I'm part of his team, the long green team. So when I wasn't able to go the extra mile, he was my fuel. You know, you always need to have the person. And when I had challenges, I will go to Niall and Niall, I can't anymore. Like, I'm burned out. Can you please help me? Because although we are in television, we need a moolah, honey. We need to close those deals. So I'm like, Niall, I need to film, but can you please handle the clients, or vice versa? When he was filming, I will handle those clients. So you have to have in your team good players so you can be able to overcome those challenges. By the way, today I'm also tired. I'm burned out. Like, seriously, I just came from a live heat and talking to client.
Hey.
And I'm a little sick. But I'm here, and I don't let you guys down.
We gotta do what we gotta do.
That's right.
Jordan March, so let me ask you, and I've known Jordan for a while also, are there any scenarios from your career that inspired you, or any stories or storylines that happened on owning Manhattan?
One more time. Is there anything that's about my business?
Any scenarios from your personal career in real estate that inspired moments or storylines on owning Manhattan?
I mean, there's a lot, obviously, that, you know, everybody put into it that I don't even think you guys got to see that, you know, hopefully you'll even get more as we continue on. You know, like, I think it just really lifted the hood to really see what it is to grow a successful business. And as you've seen, like, there are times where we butt heads. There are times where, like, some of those conflicts are actually very real and have been, you know, kind of long-standing, you know, with, like, things that have happened, right? Just of, like, how to get business done in a day. I think there's a lot of casualties, right, to doing business successfully, you know, and, like, some things are not gonna always be approved by your peers, you know, and your colleagues, and, like, sometimes, again, you have to take risks, or, you know, you have to make decisions, and there are consequences, right? And, like, there are obviously the personalities and the dynamics that you don't want to disrupt, and you still just want to make money, and, like, how do you kind of serve everything? So I think you've seen a little bit of that, that kind of bubbled up, but I think ultimately, like, we're just, you know, getting to a place where we're selling Central Park Tower, right? Like, building a Rolodex where Ryan can say, you know what, that's the guy I want to trust in a room to trade my $250 million unit. You know, that's not something that he's gonna just walk anybody into Extel's top property, the tallest residence in the world, to just be, you know, willy-nilly about who's on his team, and the responsibility of shooting a show while selling the most expensive listing on the planet, right? So, like, yeah, the burden's on, but I think ultimately our success was the inspiration of, like, what you're seeing of all the other business that came from it, and just honestly, like our dynamic. I think we're all kind of cool, but you know, we're still learning who each other are either, right? Serhant's a new company, you know, like it's 4 years old, right? Like a few people I've known from before, but a lot of us are just, I don't know, like our 24th, the 30th month, and some of us are newer than others, you know? So I think you're seeing all of that play out.
I also want to say that just to educate the room, the show is actually an OcuDoc, which is an occupational documentary. So we lazily call it a reality show, but it is absolutely an occupational documentary. So to be clear, I am not an actor. And also, like, we had very experienced top of the top Netflix producers. If they had any keen idea at all that you were setting up a scene, those cameras went off.
Yeah.
So if you leave this room, I would like you to leave with that information because I am still not an actor.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, and I wanted to touch on the storytelling aspect. Again, we're all very successful agents. You've done a great job, but now you get onto a show where you're actually telling a story, and there are some people who can do that well. And you know, I write my show every week, and one of the biggest problems I have every week is just focusing on what am I going to talk about this week? How am I going to tell that story? More importantly, who am I going to book on the show who can tell that story better than me? So it's all about storytelling. I love the fact that you say you're not an actor, that it is a documentary. You're telling a story about New York City real estate, your successes, you know, the successes of the team, successes of the company. Niall, I know you are a great storyteller. You know, when you approach a scene, okay, for lack of a better word, on a show, do you think about the story you want to get out there to the audience that will eventually receive it and read it and listen to it, or is it just kind of like whatever happens happens?
So that's a great question. I do a mixture of both. I think, you know, when Chloe and I pitched against each other at the Jardine, Chloe definitely...
You lost the book.
Yeah, she's taking her shots. That's cool. I'm also giving you credit, right? She won, right? But I also understood
And competition, that's part of the show, okay, needs to happen.
Right. But I also understood the exercise, which is that we're on television globally. And yeah, I could talk about my TikTok influencer party that I'm gonna do, or I could take the opportunity to tell the world exactly who I am. Now that's because I was a little bit more smart than just like, I'm gonna do this pitch. I said, yeah, I'm gonna do the pitch, but I'm also gonna use it as an opportunity to let everybody know who I am. I mean, I did say I was a cutthroat killer in that scene, and I wanted that to be communicated to the world. And yeah, definitely laugh at that because it's pretty fucking funny. But it works, and people who understand that and vibe with that, my phone has been ringing off the hook. My email inbox is out of control right now. And that's because I took a chance. And yeah, I could have definitely just did the pitch thing, but I also understood that there's a larger dynamic of like influence that I have, and I wanted to be clear in who I was right at the onset, and I still will give Chloe all the credit with that, but I also took a very different approach than just the traditional pitch. I took it as a moment in time that I could tell the world with 45 seconds exactly what I was about.
Jessica, so for you, you know, telling a story based on, you know, your real life career, based on, you know, what you're doing, how do you set up a scene in your mind? You go through, how do I want to present this? What are the most important factors or pieces, components of this? Or do you just kind of go and do it?
You know, to be honest, I've never done a show before. I've never done reality. So to me, I think I learned a lot through the experience of to control my narrative and don't feel pressured by outside information. So, you know, I mean, if you guys have watched the show, there were certain moments for me where I felt like I was put into situations that I kind of forgot to stand up for myself. So I think season 2, you know, we all learn through our experiences, and I know for myself, like from the cast members, I think I learned most in the sense of like controlling me and what I believe in, who is Jessica, not who anybody else is, because we're all independent. We all work together, of course, but we all have to remember who we are as a person individually.
Look, part of growing and learning, no matter what you're doing, whether it's television or just real estate in general.
I learned a lot on the show.
Of course, well, but that's the old cliche character building. You fall down, you pick yourself up, you do it again. You kind of say, well, I could have handled that a little differently, so maybe next time I will. You were pretty good. Genesis, so let me ask you, as the journalist on the panel, okay, you're very familiar with storytelling. Yeah, you only ask questions. That's what I say. But how do you tell a story to the audience out there, you know, based on the scene that you're in, based on what they want you to do, based on your real business? How do you do that? What are the factors that you play in your mind to get that story told?
Well, in Only Manhattan is different because it's unscripted. So everything happens at the moment. For example, you propose to the producer, okay, I have this $16 million penthouse, I have an open house, and have 5 appointments booked. How can we tell the story? You sit down with the producers, you start developing the story, at what time this client is gonna come, who are the clients, right? Is this person a cash buyer? Is this person financing? And according to each individual, we start shaping the story at the moment. That's the beauty of unscripted television that can make you or hurt you, because it's not scripted, it's not written down. As a go, you're making your story. It's very different than a Hollywood movie or than an actual documentary. Everything happens at the moment. That's why some people sometimes in reality television make it or don't make it, because it could be tricky.
Very tricky, and that's one of the things I like about the real estate business is you never know from one minute to the next what your day is going to be like. You wake up in the morning knowing you have a schedule, but I guarantee you by the time that day ends, your schedule has been flipped upside down, inside out, and turned around 100 times.
Right.
That's spontaneity, right?
Right. And to attest to what Niall said before about his speech, right? He used the reality TV moment for the world to know how badass of an agent he is. So he made his own story there. Like, I want the world to know that I'm a control guy. So you actually, like Jessica was saying, that now she wants to control a little bit of her narrative. You actually can have that opportunity if you really paying attention of what you're saying at the moment and where do you want your story to head.
Absolutely. It's a thinking process just like anything else.
Critical thinking. Although it looks silly sometimes on television, so reality, but you really gotta be thinking.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, all of our lives are reality, no matter what we're doing.
Right.
You know, we plug into reality every moment of the day, and sometimes we think to ourselves, I don't want to deal with that, or that's not reality right now, or I can't really focus on that because I got too many other things to do. Which leads me, Jade, we talked about earlier, as I said before, about your action-packed jam days. So now, add to what you told me earlier, how does the filming process impact your day-to-day working with your customers that you've got to get, you know, somebody over here, I think Niall said that the phone blows up every day. This is our business. I go to bed with my phone, I wake up with my phone. It is what it is. And it ain't romantic, okay? Mm-hmm. Bottom line is, how has that affected your day-to-day?
I mean, first off, like I always say, I am not the poster child for work-life balance. Do not ask me for that sort of advice. I'm somebody who believes in work-life integration. So I think every time I leave the house, it's work. I have an objective, and if I go into a coffee shop or if I go shopping, there is an intent there where I think when we are mindful of our goals in life, we're in situations where we can kind of connect the dots. And I mean, number one, I typically work until 2 or 3 a.m. So whenever we kind of added the show element to it.
That's hot. Okay, I don't even do that.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I'll email Ryan and he'll respond right away, but that's only because he's waking up at 4 a.m. and I'm sleeping at 4 a.m. So, but I think with the show, it's almost like adding another job to it. So I'm sure everyone in this vicinity has managed multiple jobs. And one of the great things about real estate is you make what you put in. So it was a little bit difficult, balancing this new experience of holy moly, I'm gonna be on Netflix. Like, how do I put in all of this time, because this is like an incredible opportunity, but also like have my work done? And that's why I think everyone on this panel, like, we're emphasizing so much, like, they just followed our lives. And of course there's situations where, you know, you have to sit to a negotiation a little bit longer than you normally would. You know, I think especially when you're a little bit more experienced, you can make conversations very efficient. And whenever you're shooting, you know, you're shooting for like an hour, 2 hours, so it's a little bit, you know, longer than what you're used to. But I think that if you want something, you make time for it. And, you know, there's a goal in there. And like, when you have something that you're really passionate about, you figure out a way to make it work.
I have a famous hashtag. Hashtag just do it.
Hashtag, I guess that's like kind of cool still, right?
Well, you know, you gotta make it happen.
Slay.
Trisha, so how much of your own personality do you bring to the show, in a scene, you know, talking about your business, talking about whatever? How much of you is actually coming across on the screen?
All of me. All of me.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Tell us how.
Well, you either choose to be real or you choose not to be real. But whatever you choose, it's best to be consistent. I think that we all show up as ourselves. I don't think that, I don't think Jess is any different in the hallway than she is sitting next to me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Genesis is always Genesis. Niles is crazy as the day I met him. You know? I can definitely, I would say everyone that's on the show is very much themselves. Like, that was the biggest feedback I got. Like, my babysitter from when I was like 5 was like, "Oh my God, you're just like yourself." And I'm like, I don't even know how to be anyone else.
Right.
You know? And also I felt like what Niall touched on initially was this is a people business, and I really believe that you can be very successful with just people that naturally gravitate towards you. So I'm like, I'm gonna be Trisha fully, and then whoever rocks with that can come this way, and whoever doesn't can land over there or over there. Like, I'm gonna eat regardless, so what do I care, you know? But I can't keep up trying to be anything more than what I am. It's not comfortable for me, and it's ultimately not worth it. I think all of us, we had to figure out how to get comfortable being ourselves in front of a camera, but I do believe that we were all fully ourselves.
Well said. Jordan, so how much of your personality do you bring to a scene, do you bring to the show on a regular basis regarding your customers, your deals, your whatever? How much of you are we seeing when we watch that?
I think there's still a lot to get off Jordan March. You know, I think there's a lot to learn, and I'm excited to kind of show people more of my personality and who I am. And you know, I got into this business from being in the music business, and you know, I am a single dad with 2 kids, right? It was divorced, and like I'm also working on other projects and development and a wide variety of things. So I think it'll be cool to kind of show you a little bit more about who I am. But I definitely feel that like people resonated with, you know, what they got of me for sure. And you know, I think I'm somebody who's very frank, and I kind of say how I feel, and I think that obviously in the certain scenes I would cut helped it. And you know, like I don't think as always being seen as competitive is always accurate. Like for me, it's just sometimes having those like candid conversations that in office settings can come off as, you know, abrasive or, you know, confrontational. But I think communication is just something that I really thrive to always do with people around me. And I'm not someone who like lives a perfect life. Like anybody who knows me, like I literally always wear my heart on my sleeve. If I'm going through stuff, I'm like, this is what I'm going through, you know? So I think anybody who paints their life as always perfect is scamming you, you know? Because like nobody's winning 100 days, you know, of the year, like, you know, 365 days of the year, so to speak. So I think, you know, having that balance of like, I have a lot of great things going on, and then there's some stuff that like, you know, we're working through as well, you know? So hopefully you guys get to see that.
Chloe, so does being a part of Serhant give you an edge in your career, just in general? And if so, how did that influence your performance when doing your deals on the show in front of, you know, all of us, in front of everybody? As you know, Niall said, globally. Has any of that influenced how you've been on the show?
I think being a part of Serhant is of course beneficial because Ryan started his company with such a huge platform already. So it's something that we can use every single day to get more listings, sell more property, just because of that huge social media presence and just presence in general. I think being on the show, you know, there's a responsibility to it, because I don't know about most of you, but I know that I've watched Ryan on $1 Million Listing for years, and he's so good, and he's so versatile, and such a big energy, and he also kills it in real estate. So there definitely is that feeling of like, oh wow, I want to do that too. I want Papa Ryan to be proud of me. I want to do a good job. And I think it definitely influences, I wouldn't say the storytelling, because it really is like we've all talked about, it's our lives, like, you know, they're filming us, but it does influence the story we are telling and the responsibility that comes with that and being a part of what he's building.
Yeah. Niall, so working on the show, working in a very busy, and I've known you for 10 years, in a very busy real estate career that has grown from basically nothing to where you are today, amazing. Talk a little bit about your personal growth. We understand the business growth, we understand, you know, the TV part now, but from a personal perspective, how much have you grown through the 10-year process that I've known, okay?
Yeah, so Vince met me when I had hair, and yeah, and then I lost.
Maybe that's a result of the business, right?
And then I lost a lot of it.
All right.
And yeah, then I shaved everything off, and you know now I'm here. But on a personal growth side, I think I don't lead like the way I live my life through real estate. I lead my life through personal growth. Right. So I think it starts with personal growth, and I'm committed to that. And real estate is my vehicle for going out every day and interacting with the world, and then dealing with challenges. We all know, in being in this industry, you know, if you're shown an apartment 10 times, 9 times is massive rejection and failure. So there's that one time that you're looking for. So it's on the personal side that I always look to get just a little bit better every day, and then that frames my real estate work. Now, is it easy? No.
Hell no.
Real estate is a very challenging business. No one's paying you any money, and you have to be very sophisticated, especially in New York, because the clientele that you're dealing with is super sophisticated. So on a personal level, I've really made a lot of very specific attempts to grow, right? I went to NYU to get my master's in real estate finance. I understand how to underwrite a deal like I'm a developer. I can talk to you about cap rates. I understand why a deal is a good deal. So it's because of my commitment to personal growth that has allowed me to find out, okay, in my last conversation with this developer, I didn't really understand what the model was. Let me go back and take a class on what that is. So the next time I sit down, I'm not gonna have the same objection or the same failure. So I am constantly looking to improve on my skills, whether it's sitting down with a developer, talking to a buyer, or even just doing what we're doing now and standing up in front of people and getting my message out there and hoping that the words that I share will inspire others to have a long and successful real estate career, with the understanding that there's a lot of challenges too. You know, one thing I'd like to mention too is I didn't make a lot of money in my career. I was in the business for 16 years. I didn't make a lot of money until about 2.5, 3 years ago, right when I got to Serhant. So it's a long journey. You have to make the right steps. And I think what's more important to me is it's not like, oh, I'm on a TV show, or oh, I got a new development. I don't think any of that's really that important, because I have a lot of trophies. Okay, I have a lot of those. And what's important is the person I have become in the process. So it's every day looking at myself in the mirror saying, all right, I got a little bit better today. Let's do it again tomorrow. And you just do that consistently, and over time, it ends up working out well, because you're looking down this tunnel and it's super dark. But the main thing is you have to say, all right, I have conviction. I believe in myself. Let's just continue down that tunnel, even though it's super dark. And then there's one day where it's like, oh, there's the light. And then all of a sudden that light gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and now it's very bright. And I wouldn't be where I'm at if I just said, oh, I'm gonna be a good real estate guy. I am where I am today because I am committed to my own personal growth and education so that I could be the person in the future, Niall, that will get more business and do more deals globally.
But as I said, well said. As I said earlier, okay, with our own personal developments, understanding first and foremost who we are, and again, I teach this in social media, who are we, right? And understanding your why. You know, when I say that sometimes in class, I immediately think about you, and you know, today also, you know who you are. You've worked on that for years. Yeah, there's always polishing, and there's always changing, and there's always growing, whatever, but you know who you are, okay? And you make that work for you. Manhattan real estate, the Manhattan real estate market, is central to the show. From your perspective as an agent, Genesis, how does the show capture the unique pressures, okay, and rewards of working in such a dynamic landscape? I say all the time to anybody who wants to hear me, the way we transact business here in Manhattan, in New York City, is far different than any place in the world. It's complicated, it's backbreaking, it's filled with drama and emotion, right? You buy a house in the country, you buy a house, you put your money down, you get a mortgage, you close. How hard is that?
So
As a backdrop, what do you say about that?
the show really shows the in and outs of New York City real estate. I have experience also out of the city. I have done the Westchester and the out of bottles.
Okay.
So when you watch only Manhattan, and like Niall mentioned before, you are working with very sophisticated individuals. Not only that, you're dealing with multi-million-dollar properties that require different steps, different protocols. This type of property bring in different buyers. Besides showing the glamorous part of one in Manhattan, because it does shows a lot of glamour, we work really hard going on pitches, losing offers, going against each other, going against your colleagues. It does really show what New York City real estate is. It's not like Middle America. Don't kill me. Don't kill me.
No, I said it's the most complicated
Yeah,
market in
the
the world.
transactions are easier out of New York City, but besides the market, how the market is in New York, you are also dealing with different people that adds to the complications of the market. It's not only the market, it's a combination of the seller, of the buyer, or of the investor, of the developer. There are so many factors that goes into play of what is the New York City real estate market, and you actually can see that in only Manhattan. And I believe for season 2, you're actually going to see even more of what is the New York City real estate
We're going to
market.
talk about season 2 in a minute. Jessica, from your perspective, any specific locations within New York City that the show filmed in, that you filmed in, that you particularly enjoyed more than other, or held a significant importance to you based on your history, your past, whatever? This microphone is crazy.
Sure. So New York is something very close to my heart. I'm from Brooklyn. I come from a family of mom and dad who immigrated from Poland in the late 80s. They came to America with $500. They bought their first property in Greenpoint for under $100,000, which back then was, even for an immigrant, was a lot of money. And I got to see through the hard work, as my dad was a truck driver going long distance from New York to California. My mom was a cleaning lady.
You were a truck driver?
No, my dad.
Oh,
Me
okay.
as a kid?
I misunderstood. Go on.
No. My dad was a truck driver. My mom was a cleaning lady, and they worked hard to pay off their mortgage. So Brooklyn is somewhere so deep rooted in my bones, and I'm such a fan of that area. And I love to see the gentrification and the change of what Brooklyn has become, because I lived through it. I got to see that this immigrant community of Greenpoint became so flourishing and developed, and I got to see it between my own family and my own eyes.
Yeah. It's hot.
Yeah, it's very hot now.
And it's complete. I remember, I'm old enough to remember when it wasn't so hot and it wasn't so great, and it was like, okay, you picked and chose where you wanted to go. Jade, you are a New Yorker. You grew up on the Upper East Side. For you, any particular spot in all of New York City that was near and dear to you, where filming took place, whether your friends here or yourself, or just the show in general?
Okay,
How much of a
so-
New Yorker are you, really?
All right, so my favorite area, like tried and true New Yorker, I think, like any of the uppers, so Upper East Side, Upper West Side, like I just think, you know, you have everything up. Like Upper West Side, it's almost like the West Village, but it's like a little bit quieter. Like you don't have like teenagers getting drunk in the middle of the day, right? But I also wanted to call out someone in the crowd who, whenever Niall was talking about growth and sort of always trying to learn, I think I met her earlier and I just have seen her taking notes this entire time. Remember your name again? Yeah.
You're cornered.
I'm Colleen. Colleen, I just want to say the fact that you have been to all of these and you've been taking notes the entire time, I just think you deserve a round of applause, because I think that that's really awesome to come into every room and just have the intent to like learn and grow and kind of take all of our experiences and take note and really like be mindful about that. Yeah, I think that's incredible. So I just wanted to say that.
Jordan, so in both the show and at Serhant, we all know in this real estate business, those of us who have been in it for a while, competition is fierce. Competition to get listings, competition to get buyers and sellers and renters, developments if you're doing that. Competition is fierce no matter where you go. How do you manage to stay ahead of your game in the middle of all this competition? And does working at Serhant give you the upper edge in your mind when you're out there talking to people? How important is that?
I mean, I think Serhant definitely differentiates himself than like the legacy traditional brokerages, many of who I was also a part of. Previously we were colleagues at Brown Harris Stevens, who has been around since 1860.
150 years.
Yeah, literally the year slavery was over, like Brown Harris Stevens started, right? So like, we're talking about competing with a company that is over a century old, right? So like, we're the newcomers in the block. I always have to upgrade my systems, my marketing decks. I mean, Sean, how much did we spend on marketing decks this year? About $20,000. I fired 2 ad copywriters because they didn't write it the right way. I fired all the designers. The third person, who actually was my initial designer, actually ended up giving me the best deck, right? So like, that was a huge expense, but I needed to figure out other ways to create verbiage that connects with my clients and the pain points of the market of right now. And we're always creating new ways, I think, also memorialize what we do. Like, we've named our system. We have a name for our exclusive buyers list, right? Like, these are things that now you can create an identity around, so people understand that there is an actual process. There is actual science of doing this. So I lose listings. I mean, we lost a listing on the Upper East. We priced it, send it out. What did we price it at? $25 million? He said, send me the exclusive. I'm gonna sign it right now. And 2 brothers got it, our favorite 2 brothers in the industry right now. They sold it in about 2 weeks to an all-cash buyer at $22.5 million. And yeah, that's $1.5 million direct buyer that came through. 3 weeks in the market, right? That hurt. So I think through losing, we learn a lot about how to win and how to win better and how to get better at strategizing. And I said, I won't lose those in the same way again. And for us, it was just, we priced it a little high, right? I think he actually wanted to know what the 1 month pricing was, you know? So like, these are things that like, you just have to stay on top of it. And, I'm always looking at other ways to like better our pitch, figure out ways technology can help us either cold prospect faster, leveraging social media for better reach, like really looking at your analytics. Have you ever really pulled apart where your audience is from, what your demographics are? And like, have you ever spent money on an ad on TikTok or social media or Instagram?
A lot of people are sitting back and they're complaining about business, but they're not doing more to advertise and put themselves out there. So I always have to look at, in slower markets and tougher times, how am I leveraging my colleagues in a better way? So we rebranded the team because we had juggernauts joining our team. So I was siloed with Sean, and I came. I've seen a few people who worked with me in the past. I was running an organization where I had 600 people under me, and I had 2 babies, and I was 25 years old or 24, whatever it was, right? So coming to Serhant now, we wanted to create a platform that an agent could work with us and not necessarily have it sort of take away from their business. And we had a lot of people, we got the high team from Compass that was one of their top teams, $60+ million. We have a few people in the audience who've also joined. And I think we always look at, how do I surround myself with the best people at any given time and almost get myself out of the way and leverage really what works for them, because when I'm filming, I can say, hey, Sean, I needed to handle this pitch, I needed to handle this client. And I build that infrastructure and really leveraging, and a lot of people are just watching commissions, they don't want to pay people and so on. I say, no, leverage people, because that's how you scale, that's how you build organizations, right, that can work when you're sleeping. So it's looking at your systems, there's CRMs that are out there, there's understanding how to be a better marketer, knowing the analytics of, so now you're talking to your audience or your clients, your sellers, and you say, this is who we're going to put you in front of, this is how we're going to reach them in a tactical, predictable way. And those analytics are very telling, because I can scale up, I can pull back, I can pivot. If something's not working, I can try A/B tests of different ways that I want my ad copy to resonate with people. You have to be trying and testing new things. You are an expert marketer. So I think for me, it's just looking at what were our skill sets, what were our weaknesses, what were our losses, and creating a strategy that I think in any quarter we can be successful.
Sadly, we're running out of time, so I want to kind of speed this last part up. Let's talk about a little bit of takeaway. Okay, so Trisha, has your experience on the show influenced the way you work as a real estate agent? You know the way you worked before, being on the show, has that kind of raised your level, not raised your level? What do you think about your approach, if it's changed or not, to the way you approach your day, your business, your clients, etc.?
Has it impacted the way I work day to day? I think I'm more cautious now with meeting people and with leads. I think I vet a little bit more than I did before, just because, June 28th, all of our lives drastically changed, and what's great about our show is that it's very diverse, but it being diverse, it's I feel like every Black woman in the world knows who I am. I'm sure that every bald-headed white guy knows who Niall is. Every woman that just had a baby knows who Chloe is. So people connected to different people,
Right.
really in a strong way. But for me, I've definitely actually had to be really more protective of my time and my appearance, honestly, because people they know you now, right? Or so they think that they do, and that can be weird. That can lead to a lot of weird phone calls and emails, and just not, you have to be very cautious and be very savvy and very smart. So I think that has changed, but a lot of what you saw on the show is just how my work day is. I get up very early in the morning. I have planned my day the night before. I don't just walk into my day. I planned it before I close my eyes, and I have time in there for life and love and work and everything, and following up and organizing. I don't think they show too much of that. I think you guys just got a skimming of who we are in the first season. I think this season will dive a little bit deeper into most of us and who we are outside of that little breeze of an introduction that you got last year, or this year rather. But for me, it's just about digging through all the noise and all of the commotion to look for true and real opportunities. And I've actually been very surprised that for me, they are in real estate, but they're equally not in real estate, because again, people gravitate to who they like and who they most identify with and who they enjoy. And so I've found that many people are like, oh, I have you in mind, but for things that are not real estate related. So it gives me the freedom to kind of explore other interests and other loves, because every one of us up here have something else we're super passionate about in addition to real estate.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Jessica, so what do you hope viewers will take away from watching the Netflix series, Owning Manhattan? Take away from the perspective of, I learned something, this was really well produced, this is well done, I'm maybe getting a better understanding of the Manhattan or the New York City real estate market. What do you think the takeaway is there or you would like the takeaway to be for most viewers of the show?
I think for most viewers, the biggest thing to take away is to leave the audience feeling inspired by each and every one of us. We all have unique backgrounds and stories. I think whether you work in real estate or want to work in real estate or you want to become a doctor or lawyer, I just hope that this, just watching us, gives you so much drive to do whatever it is that you want to do. Because I know watching, I sure was inspired by Trisha and Niall and Jordan and Genesis and Chloe. Just watching them on the show, I'm like, wow, they're bosses. I want to be just like them. So I hope it just leaves everyone feeling inspired to do whatever it is that they want to do in their lives.
And to do it well.
And do it well.
Niall, close us out. Take us away. Give us a preview of season 2. I know it's starting next week. You don't have to, let out all the secrets, but I know it's starting next week, probably airing next summer-ish. Did they not know that?
Has it already started? So
I'm sorry.
So yeah, we started season 2. It's going to be awesome because all of us are back and we learned so much, and now we know how to make any scene that we're in way hotter. Okay, so this season you're going to see a lot of really amazing and dynamic scenes from all of us.
How much hot can it get?
Oh, it's going to get a lot hotter. It's going to get a lot hotter. The reason for that is because everybody got a little bit, like what Trish was saying, you just skimmed over. There's so many people on the show. There's so many deals happening. So you didn't really get to see all of what every one of us is about. And I can't wait to see more about Jess, more about Chloe, more about Trish. And all of that is going to come out in season 2. I can't tell you when it's actually going to air, but I can tell you that it's going to be out of control and we're going to hit number 1. That's a fact.
Hey, that's not a bad goal. All right. Thank you to the cast of Owning Manhattan. Thank you to the successful agents that are sitting up here. Thank you to Serhant for giving us these people. And thank all of you for joining us today. Much appreciated.